Step into the listening corner where stories come alive and learning is a thrilling adventure. Join us on our YouTube channel for a world of wonder crafted just for you and your little ones. Immerse yourselves in enchanting tales that captivate hearts and minds, blending the joy of storytelling with valuable lessons. From courageous characters to magical journeys, our corner is a haven of imagination and discovery. Parents, rest easy as our content weaves education into the fabric of fun. Hit subscribe, press play, and let the listening corner be your family's daily dose of joy, laughter, and delightful learning. Calvin's unusual sleepover, a little boy who loved to wake up early and gaze out of his bedroom window in his backyard. Every day he saw groups of butterflies fluttering around, landing on his mom's beautiful flowers in the garden. Calvin thought these creatures were absolutely magnificent. One day, Calvin got super excited and had a fun idea. He wondered, what if I could invite one of these butterflies for a sleepover at my house? Now Calvin knew it was a bit impossible because butterflies don't talk, and catching them might be tricky. But he had a plan in mind, and he already knew which butterfly he wanted to be his special sleepover guest. Calvin was on a mission, and to make it a success, he needed a bunch of cool things. He gathered a wide-mouthed jar, a net, flowers, a rubber band, and even got his sister Josephine to lend a hand. Calvin was all set. He knew that if he gave it his best shot, he could totally make his plan work. With all his gear and Josephine ready to help, Calvin was ready for his big adventure. The next day was perfect for Calvin's butterfly catching adventure. The weather was amazing, and Calvin couldn't wait to get started. While sitting at his desk in the classroom, Calvin's mind was buzzing with thoughts of the black and blue butterfly. All he could think about was how impressive it would be to catch it. The excitement was building up. Ring-a-ling! The school bell chimed, and suddenly Calvin's mum appeared at the door. Excitedly, Calvin asked, "Can we go home now, Mom?" Mom looked surprised and asked, "Why the rush, my dear?" Calvin replied, "I don't want to miss the butterflies." With that, he was already opening the car door, ready to embark on his butterfly catching mission. As the car pulled into the driveway, Calvin quickly unclasped his seatbelt, grabbed his school bag, and hopped out. But his mum called out, "Hold on there." She reminded him, "Before you go outside to play, I want you to have a snack and get your homework done." Mums always have the best reminders. Calvin dashed to the bathroom, washed his hands super fast, and then perched himself at the table. He was so eager, waiting anxiously for his mum to hand him his apple. It was one of the snacks he loved the most. The anticipation was too much to manage. Once Calvin finished his homework, he dashed straight to the backyard with his jar, rubber band, and net in one hand, and Josephine close by. He wished with all his might for the butterflies to appear right away. But after spending hours outside, not a single butterfly showed up. It was time for dinner, and Calvin had to head inside. With a sad and puzzled face, Calvin told his mom, "Oh, Mummy, none of the butterflies visited your flower patch today." Mom comforted him, saying, "That's all right, Calvin." Then she asked, "When I take you to school, do I always drive down the same street every day?" Calvin thought for a moment and replied, "No." Mom smiled and said, "Exactly. Maybe the butterflies just took a different way home today." Calvin nodded, understanding that the butterflies might have chosen a new path. The next morning, Calvin woke up and gazed at the sky through his bedroom window. He really hoped the butterflies could somehow hear his thoughts and flutter his way. Since it was the weekend, Calvin decided that after breakfast, he would sit outside all day until he spotted at least one butterfly. The excitement was bubbling inside him. While Josephine and Calvin were having a blast playing with their tea set, a whole bunch of butterflies swooped over their heads and landed on Mommy's bed of flowers. What a magical moment! Calvin couldn't believe his luck as he glanced at the butterflies and jumped up in excitement. Ready to catch one, he realized he had forgotten his net. But Josephine was quick to remember and grabbed it for him. Quietly tiptoeing towards the flower patch, Calvin carefully raised his hand and gently placed the net on the ground, capturing one of the most stunning creatures he had ever seen up close. It wasn't the blue and black butterfly he had admired for months, but this one was black and white and just as beautiful. What a magical moment for Calvin. Josephine was over the moon when her big brother caught a butterfly. Seeing him so happy made her proud. But then she noticed something not so great. Mommy's flower patch was a bit messed up. Flowers got broken during the excitement. Quickly realizing this, Calvin rushed over to the patio table with the butterfly. He told Josephine to hold the jar tightly with both hands, keeping it close to the net. The butterfly, curious and lively, fluttered its wings and walked toward the flowers inside the jar. Calvin grabbed a rubber band and carefully placed it over the net, securing the mouth of the jar. They were all set to enjoy their butterfly friend without any more flower mishaps. Calvin couldn't contain his excitement. He proudly took the jar from Josephine and exclaimed, "Look, Mommy, I caught a butterfly. Can I have a sleepover?" Mommy questioned, "With whom?" Calvin grinned, "I'd like to have a sleepover with the butterfly." Mommy agreed, with a condition. "Yes, my darling. You can, but only if you let it go in the morning. We wouldn't want the butterfly's mommy and daddy to worry, right?" Calvin nodded. "No, I don't want that." That evening, Calvin rushed through dinner and hurried to take his bath. All he wanted was to be in his room alone with Mr. Butterfly. He had grand plans to introduce his new friend to all his toys, books, and musical instruments. Whispering to the butterfly while holding the jar close to his face, Calvin asked, "Should I give you a name? How about Alvin?" The stage was set for a delightful sleepover. Just as Calvin was getting ready for his special sleepover, there was a knock on the door. It was Josephine. She wanted to say good night to the butterfly. "Good night, Mr. Butterfly," said Josephina. Calvin was quick to share that he had named the butterfly Alvin. Josephine wasn't too thrilled with the name, and Express said, "I don't like that name," as she walked out of the room. Calvin just smiled. Despite having a long and exciting day, Calvin was tired. He really wanted to play more with his new friend, Alvin the butterfly. However, he reluctantly turned off his light and went to bed, looking forward to more adventures with Alvin in the morning. Morning arrived, and Calvin was up earlier than usual. He couldn't wait to spend more time with Alvin before saying goodbye. Carefully, he crept out of bed, held the jar, and whispered, "Alvin, are you up?" There was no response. Calvin grew worried when he noticed that both of Alvin's wings were attached together, not moving. Calvin shook the jar in concern, and once again Alvin didn't respond. A tear rolled down Calvin's cheek. He thought putting Alvin in a jar was a bad idea, and he might have hurt him by capturing him. But then something miraculous happened. Alvin began to flap his wings. Calvin was overjoyed to see Alvin moving again. He figured, "I suppose that's the way butterflies sleep," and felt relieved. As Calvin and Josephine headed downstairs to release Alvin, to their surprise, both Mommy and Daddy were already up. Mommy suggested, "How about a picture, guys?" Calvin and Josephine were thrilled, holding the jar between them, and together they said the magic word, "butterfly." It turned out to be the best picture ever, capturing the special moment with Alvin before his release. Now it was time to let Alvin go home to be with his family. Calvin whispered to Alvin, telling him he's welcome back any time, and, one day, he would like to visit his house for a sleepover. With a grateful heart, Calvin opened the jar and said, "Thank you for the memories and the picture," as Alvin fluttered away. It was a special goodbye filled with gratitude for the magical moments they shared. Calvin was sad, and Josephine decided to make up a poem to cheer him up. "Calvin is the kindest brother I know. He caught a butterfly and had to let it go. I am here. I know you are sad. You're my brother, and I am glad. Play with me with my tea set. You will have fun. You won't be so upset." Josephine's thoughtful words brought a smile to Calvin's face, turning his sadness into a moment of warmth and joy. Thank you so much for stopping by The Listening Corner, where stories come to life. I hope you enjoyed the adventure today. Remember, just like our characters, you have your own unique story to create. So until our next visit to the magical world of imagination, thank you for being fantastic listeners. Stay curious, stay kind, and always let your imagination lead the way in the listening corner. See you on the next exciting journey.